Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, because if you thought we were done with trying to find the perfect Transformers 1 Optimus Prime, then just wait till you've seen this thing. Yes, we've looked at the Studio Series, we've looked at the Mainline Deluxe, we've looked at the Ultimate Energon version, we've looked at the Power Flip version, and now we have the Takara Brave Commander toy, which I'm very excited for because many people now have said to me that they think this is the best Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. So we're going to find out. After all, looks pretty handsome. Looks pretty good in the box, can't deny, but is it going to be any good in hand? That's the question. And as with the previous efforts, this video is brought to you by TF Source, so you will of course find a link to their site in the description below, and you can go ahead and check them out for all your Transformers needs. And I'm ridiculously excited for this one. Kinda looks like it's got a lot of the features that maybe the other ones don't, and it'll be interesting to do some comparisons too. I mean, it just looks like great, chunky fun. We'll go ahead and get him out of this clamshell, get all these little ties cut. Massive clamshell, actually. I'm sure it doesn't need to be quite as large as it is, but hey ho. Okay, he is really wedged in there. Absolutely got to rip him out of there. Not to mention the couple of accessories to consider as well. It's a very nice looking matrix, which before we go and check him out fully in all his glory, you can actually pop inside the chest. You've just got to open it up like so, which is a bit of a neat maneuver. That's quite different to the other Transformers 1 Optimus Primes we've seen so far. And then it just pegs in like that. Looks very, very neat. And you can just close this chest section up again. Really like that. And I adore how great that matrix looks inside the chest there. That really captures the light nicely. I think that's glorious. But to be honest, that's kind of true of this guy generally. Like, straight out of the box, I'm blown away with how this looks. It's really nice. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. Super chunky. The colours are appealing. The silhouette looks great. Strong first impression on this guy. I mean, it's perhaps worth saying that I don't know that he's like 100% cartoon accurate. He is mostly, or at least kind of in terms of the details. I think it's the proportions, because these arms look really bulky to me, and it's kind of like an exaggerated upper chest, and then it kind of tapers down to like a little sort of tiny waist just there, and then like big chunky legs again. So I think it's the proportions mainly that are not throwing me off at all, but just kind of seem a little bit exaggerated, if anything. And there definitely is a little bit of a backpack going on as well. I mean, I don't think that's too bad, to be honest, and obviously that's some of the vehicle mode being truncated up in there. Some people may have something to say about that. It doesn't bother me, but it is a factor, definitely. And, again, if you're looking for like a wholly slavish, screen-accurate Optimus, this may detract from that slightly, but still looks good. To be fair, though, even if you do consider it a compromise, there's still plenty to admire about this toy. For instance, the face sculpt is just wonderful, and I think a really close approximation of the film, at least based on the last time I saw it and my memory of it. But the silver finish is really nice, the details lovely, it's just a great representation. Even better though, it does actually have a little face swap gimmick, which is the first of these Optimus Prime toys to actually have this from the ones that we've looked at so far. So you just flip up that head, fold the face round, and plonk it back into place, and voila, no faceplate. And that looks equally good to my eye. Very close representation of the film, very handsome as well, nice detailing. Again, really, really good. I'm not normally too keen on silver faces, of the way they kind of reflect the light. I think it detracts a little bit, but this has done it nicely for me, I think. Now, I've already talked about the matrix detail in the chest, but it is just worth appreciating some of this other detailing down here. You've got some nice yellow paint just there. You've got other highlights as well. It all looks absolutely spot on to my eye. Worth talking about this more kind of clean grey plastic that they've used on areas such as the hips and the forearms, and that is kind of much more cartoon accurate versus, like the Studio Series, which we talked about in that video review, where it's this really kind of weird off silver colour, and this looks way better in my opinion. Similar story with this really lush blue down here, super vibrant, and again quite reminiscent of the film in that regard, because he does get kind of shiny towards the end, and this really kind of has that vibe to it, even though it is actually just bare plastic, so love that. And I like the red that they've gone with as well. It's not like uber saturated red, it is like a little bit toned down, but I think it really works nicely. And again, honestly, if it wasn't for the kind of slightly hench proportions in those shoulders, I think this would look pretty spot on to the film. I mean, look, I'm not going to get out a ruler and start measuring by the millimeter. This is just my perception in terms of those proportions, so maybe it is fine, but either way, I don't really mind, because honestly, it just, I don't know, it feels right for the character somehow. It kind of evokes the spirit of that Optimus, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Now, articulation wise, he's got really decent range of motion in that head, which can look pretty freely from side to side. Can look up as well. Got to be careful not to kind of untransform it, but yeah, he can look up. Not really down too much, so just kind of straight in front, but still, that's fine. Shoulders are on two separate joints, so they will kind of come all the way up to the side like so, and then they will rotate round. Now, there is a bicep swivel, but I do want to talk about this because this is on a mushroom peg, and I've already had it several times, particularly with the other arm actually, not so much this one, where that mushroom peg gets detached and kind of comes off as you're rotating them round, so that's slightly annoying. Just have to kind of keep tabbing it back on, but a small thing. Someone else has mentioned that to me already, but hey-ho. And then you do get a 90-degree bend, particularly if you get it out the way of that smokestack at the elbow as well. And then you've got a bit of wrist swivel going on there, and a little bit of hand articulation, so you've got a little touch at the fingers, nothing in the thumbs though, but still really nice. Elsewhere, you've got a really decent waist swivel down here. No ab crunch to speak of, but the waist swivel is there at least. And then the hips, you've got tons of range. There's no hip flaps or anything like that. These are on a little ratchet, so they will actually go all the way up and over, so that's really, really decent. I do think that the ratchets are slightly annoying actually. Like, I know a lot of people do prefer ratchets to friction joints, but I don't know, it feels like they're slightly, like maybe the notches could be a little bit less in between each notch, you know, to kind of give a bit more range there, a bit more freedom, but still, it's fine. And the hips will go all the way out to the sides as well, so we can do a really good Van Damme, as Bobby Skullface would say, so that's good. And then very decent range at the knees, which are friction joint, and just go to a little bit, just like a smidge beyond 90 degrees. And then you do have a bit of ankle tilt as well, bizarrely actually more outward ankle tilt than inward, so maybe he can do the run, I guess we'll see. And there we have it, yes he can, and it looks really, really good, and actually feels really stable as well, so I feel no real, worry about that falling over or anything like that. I think he poses beautifully. I mean, same with the kneel. That is about as good a kneel as you get on any Transformers figure. It looks fantastic. I love posing this thing already. Like, it's got all the joints you could kind of wish for, outside of an ab crunch maybe. Fantastic. And yeah, lo and behold, this is exactly what I was talking about with that mushroom peg. It's just kind of worked its way off there as I was manipulating that bicep joint to the point where if you just kind of, there you go, just tug it slightly, it is going to come off. So that is slightly annoying. It's just one of those things that I have encountered a few times. It does just pop back on, so it's not the end of the world by any stretch, but it is what it is. So I think probably my only real grumble is that I do wish that the ankle tilt was like slightly more forgiving, kind of that inward ankle tilt, but again, it's not bad at all. It kind of has what you need. It could just do that. Just that little bit more would be extra satisfying. Anyway, let's talk other gimmicks, and of course, first of all, you've got his battle axe, which just pegs into his palm like so, and that looks really, really good once it's in place, although I do have a bit of a complaint at this point, which is actually that this shoulder joint just there is not the strongest, and yeah, there you go. It will kind of flop down under the weight of the axe once it's been added, so that's a little bit disappointing. The axe also doesn't feel the most secure in the palm either. It kind of, there you go, it kind of feels like it's going to pop out the whole time, so even if you kind of push it down, just with manipulating it or whatever, it kind of like already feels like it's a little bit loose, so that's that's frustrating as well, I'm not going to lie. That said, the axe itself looks great. It's this kind of blue translucent plastic, although there is kind of I don't know if it's just my table, there's almost like a sort of greenish tinge to it, ever so slight, but it does look really, really good. And of course, if you do listen to Triple Takeover, our podcast, then you may have heard our recent interview with Jason Shire, who's the production designer for Transformers 1, and he actually confirmed that yes, there was a stage during production where the axe was meant to be blue, so that's why all the toys are blue. So as suspected and as talked about in one of my, I think all of my previous reviews, that's the reason. There you go. Confirmed. Anyway, if you do want somewhere to store the axe, then it can actually just peg into his backpack like so, and kind of hang around back there. I mean, kind of funny considering that it's supposed to be like a Matrix-powered energy weapon that comes out of his hand, that he would be able to store it like this, but hey, it's a toy, so it's a bit of fun, isn't it? Speaking of the Matrix, of course, we can go ahead and get it out again, see if we can fit it into his hands. Now, this is a wee bit fiddly to get out of there, but there we go, not too bad. Now apparently the trick here is getting it prized in between his thumb and finger like so. It's actually not too bad, and there you have it. It actually looks great, holds it very naturally. I think that's the best we've seen of any of them so far, so good on him for lighting our darkest hour purposes. And worth saying that the Matrix itself also looks very gorgeous. It's got really nice gold paint, little kind of crystal thing in the middle with that translucent blue plastic. So yeah, top draw. But wait, there's more, because first of all, of course, you can flip those smokestacks around to the front like so, like little cannons, so that is kind of an option with both of them. They just swivel around like that if indeed you want to, and they do kind of snap back into place quite nicely. But there is something here, a little switch on the back, which I had no knowledge about until right now, but it's super cool. So if there's a little button here, if you press it, then look, little hidden pop-out cannons. Nice. It's just literally this little switch just here, so you just press it up and then it pops out. It's just wonderful. And they fold away again really neatly, just kind of fold them back like so, and then just compress that little section of his shoulder, and then whenever you're ready, you can just pop them out. I think that's so satisfying. Did he actually use these in the film? Like, I don't recall it if he did. Like, maybe he did and I've just forgotten, but I've seen it 3 times. But, you know, I'm wondering if they're just kind of riffing on the smokestack somehow. But either way, this looks great. Love the set of 4 cannons there. He's definitely ready for battle. So yeah, you know, I'm just going to come straight out and say it that right out the gate, even after only, you know, a little bit of time messing around with this robot mode, it's definitely the best Transformers 1 Optimus Prime humanoid form that I've seen so far of all of them. Like, better than the Studio series in my humble opinion. And it does something different, I guess, to some of the more gimmicky versions, but this one feels really complete. Like, it's got everything that you're realistically going to want from a robot mode Optimus Prime from the film, and it looks fantastic as well. I do kind of want to stress again though that looking at them all side by side, I'm just thankful that there are so many options for this thing, and none of them are inherently, you know, bad or anything like that. Like, they've all got their merit. They're all just different, and I think that's what's been done really well with this lineup by both Hasbro and Takara. You know, they've gone for something unique in each case, and I think that's what you want at the end of the day. Options, choices, and that's never a bad thing. So yeah, whilst the Brave Commander may be my favourite in robot mode so far, I still like each and every one of these. I still really enjoyed the Studio series, and I've been messing with it loads since I did that video review of it. I've really enjoyed the 2 gimmicky large ones, and I think the little mainline deluxe one has plenty of charm too. There's not a bad one here. It's just, I don't know. There's something about the Brave Commander though. It is pretty glorious, I can't deny. Really though, aren't we just absolutely blessed with amazing Optimus Prime toys this year so far, eh? I mean, here we've got him with the Missing Link Convoy on the right and the new Studio series Optimus Prime on the left. Review of that on the way as well soon. And what a year it's been. Look at them all together. So yeah, the robot mode's pretty glorious, but of course that's only half the story, so let's go ahead and check out Transformation. There we go, that's Transformation done, and I have to say, I think that was a lot of fun. Very repeatable, clicks together nicely, just great. Yeah, it's definitely the most involved of all the Transformers 1 Optimus Prime transformations that we've looked at so far, and I think you really see the evidence of that in this back end, just here, this kind of truck bed, or whatever that is in this mode, this Cybertronian mode. I mean, don't get me wrong, you've still got the feet kind of very visibly hanging off the back here, but they are disguised slightly. But the real benefit is in this bit, where there's a lot of kind of moving parts and bits that clip together to make that look a little bit more solid, even the back of the truck just here as well, so it's all good stuff. But to be fair, even the way this front section kind of folds out of the backpack and clips together, it's a little bit shell-formery, but that's okay. Like, it doesn't actually feel like that. It's only kind of in principle, once you think about it, that might occur to you, but honestly, really clever engineering going on here. And the result is, dare I say, the best one we've seen so far. Like, I kind of keep saying that about this toy, but honestly, just, I don't know, just look at this thing. Like, it's very cohesive, very nicely put together. It doesn't have many compromises, really. it's great. I think just the fact that if you flip it over, you can see how well the hands are hidden here, which is a bit of a complaint that we've had on all the Optimus Primes so far, that they're kind of trying to do this animation model. So this is a really good solution. Really love his little pop-out landing gear as well. Is that the first truck mode Optimus Prime with landing gear? I don't know, it might be. Anyway, this flip over section does mean that the front of the truck here looks very different to his chest also, and I'm a big fan of that because it just kind of mixes up the look a little bit. Beyond, like so many of the others just have like a roof section that is different, the whole front of the truck here is different to the chest. I also really appreciate a lot of this kind of robotic detailing on the back there, that looks really nice. And just generally, this mode is really well presented. Honestly, it does exactly what it needs to, and it rolls pretty well as well, so all in, major success in my opinion. And I think you really see the evidence of that when you do a straight up comparison. So here you've got him with the Studio Series and the Mainline Deluxe, and honestly, just on the basis of how well it hides the legs, the hands, particularly the hands and the arms, right? Like, it definitely looks really, really good. And don't get me wrong, I love both of these other toys, but the Takara version, this Brave Commander version, it's just another level, to be honest. Again, though, I think what you really get out of this comparison is the feeling of options, right? Like, it's good to have options, it's good to have choices. And again, I think Hasbro and Takara have done a great job at giving us that, if anything. None of these toys feels the same, just like at a different scale or whatever. And that's a really good thing. Then of course we get into the more weird and wonderful end with these gimmick toys. You've got the Ultimate Energon version and the Power Flip version just here. And these are so different and just represent, again, something completely unique, like so far away from what the other toys are trying to do. And I really appreciate that. And I've just had so much fun with all of them, to be honest. That said, the mission here was always kind of billed as finding the quote-unquote best Transformers 1 Optimus Prime, and for my money, I have to say, I do think that's the Takara Brave Commander version. There's just so much to appreciate about it. It's not perfect, but it does do so much well. It's pretty great. Even better though, it does have some cool gimmicks. I mean, the first of those is some weapon storage just there, and again, that's kind of silly the way it stores the axe, but it's an option if indeed you want it. Much more noteworthy though is the fact that you can still use those little flip out cannons at the front there, so that looks absolutely fantastic. I just love it. Of course, you can then flip around these little bits as well to kind of give them the full armament. It just looks great, and it's a lot of fun as well at the end of the day. Takara never miss with this kind of stuff. And as if to demonstrate what I'm talking about, this thing does have a little trailer hitch just back here, and I've just discovered that actually if you have the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, then this will fit perfectly just in there. Like, I'm not kidding, there's no way that this is not intentional. Honestly, it fits perfectly. And it's just one of those thoroughly ridiculous but absolutely appreciated little touches that the designers of these toys bake in, and I love it. Absolutely love stuff like this. Anyway, all told, Brave Commander Optimus Prime is a definite success. There are some flaws, and I do wish that like the joint on that shoulder was a little bit tighter and that the mushroom peg elbow didn't pop off quite as keenly as it does. But on the whole, you really can't complain. It's a fantastic toy and a definite toot. Now, as I mentioned before, this review is brought to you by TF Source, so I'll put a link to their site in the description below, and you can check them out for all your Transformers needs. I would of course also be very grateful if you could leave me a like for today's video, please, but otherwise that's it from me, so have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.